Hi everyone yang nonton dari rumah. Welcome to Founders Diary. Ini episode Ini episode ke-8. Ini udah ke-8. So a bit about why Founders Diary. I want to share a bit. We understand that building a company can be a lonely journey. While there are definitely joys of entrepreneurship, there are also significant challenges. In our Founders Diary series, we ask founders about what their days look like and reflect on what they discover during the process. Ya, hari ini saya moderator bersama kembaran saya, Ardi Setiadharma. Kita berdua, we founded our own company back in 2008. It's a construction in telecommunication industry, and starting in 2013 and ramping up, we started investment in a lot of tech startups in Indonesia. Currently, we have about more than 40 startups in Indonesia. And with this Founders Diary, we want to share, the knowledge that the founders, that usually I also learn from them, yang biasa saya belajar dari mereka, agar bisa didengar oleh kalian semua. Jadi hari ini topiknya adalah how to execute as a female founder to be seen as an equal. So today we have two speakers, both outstanding females. First one is Gita Sjahrir, from co-founder of Our Fitness. So a bit about Our Fitness. Our Fitness is one of Indonesia's leading wellness brand, with physical and mental health classes available online and offline in 5 locations throughout Jabodetabek. And the second speaker is Vanessa, who is a flexible office rental provider and premium co-working space with more than 20 strategic locations throughout Indonesia. Supported by technology, GoWork's co-working space have been specifically designed to inspire and empower its members to achieve their best achievements, with more than 15,000 members of GoWork exclusive network from various companies and industries. So, without further ado, I would like to invite first Gita to introduce yourself and about the company, a little bit about the company. Still on mute.
I know I have to think first.
Happens a lot, no worry.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Boleh bahasa Indonesia, boleh bahasa Inggris, campur-campur.
Oh. Thank you so much everyone for being here. Thank you for inviting me here and Vanessa. Just really quickly, I'm actually a 3 times entrepreneur with 10 years of entrepreneurship experience. I had an epic failure for my first business, which was great. It actually helped to raise for my second and third. And also, what I ended up doing 5 years ago was to start a fitness company for people who don't like fitness. At the time, I was dealing also with arthritis. It's something I was born with. And I noticed that the gyms I go to, everything was about getting ripped, losing weight, being skinny, but that's not what it's about. Just like everything else, not about burning bright and then falling quickly. And I think that's the way it is about life, that's the way it is about business, and that's the way it is about fitness. So I wanted to build a lasting brand that'll bring a lot of impact and a lot of value to people. So our company is Our Fitness. We have an app called Our Fitness that is available on Google and App Store. You can reserve any class you want there. We have 7 to 10 classes a day online. So right now we just created a digital pivot smack into from purely offline to purely online. So anytime you want to try a meditation class, yoga, cycling, HIIT, strength, whatever, we are on, and it's only Rp20,000 dan bisa bayar pakai GoPay. So that's our little story. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Gita. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
So Vanessa, so tell me about yourself and about GoWork.
Sure thing. Thank you guys for having me here, and Gita as well. We're actually good friends, so it's so good to see you here, Git. Sebelum aku mulai, I have to apologize. Suddenly my 2 sons burst into into the screen. I'm trying to keep them away for now, but I don't know how long that's gonna be. So I just want to have to apologize in advance because I'm a mom of 2 boys. So,
No.
bagi yang belum kenal, my name is Vanessa Hendriadi. I'm a CEO and co-founder of GoWork. So I started the company in 2016. Unlike Gita, this is my first startup. I had never started a company before. I had been working as a professional when I was in the US, and then I came back from the US to Surabaya, my hometown, to work as for a family business. Karena dari awal my parents waktu kita masih kecil-kecil, me and my brothers, mereka selalu ngomongnya, udah kalian kita sekolahin, terus ntar kalau udah balik bantuin bisnis orang tua. That is the definition of being an entrepreneur. So I did that. I tried that. I tried being a professional first, and then I did keep my promise to work in a family business, and I didn't really like it that much. So there was a transition period there when I asked myself what is it that I really wanted to do. 2015 akhir itu I started what was known as rework, also a similar concept, a co-working space, flexible workspace, but at that time it was a very small space, unlike what we have today. Why did I start GoWork or then rework? It was because I had a big frustration at that time. Waktu baru mulai itu, my second son was only 9 months old, and I was dying to go back to work. I hated working from home. I still hate it now, but I'm stuck doing it, and I cannot wait to go back. Right? It's just a lot of distractions. There's no energy. And I wanted to have a space that can bring all these creativity, productivity, and energy that people can use, right? And especially in a place like Jakarta, where it's very trafficky and it takes a long time to get anywhere. So back then, I created Rework. And in 2018, we merged with another company called GoWork, the original GoWork, to be what it is. GoWork is today. Like was mentioned before, we are operating in 25 locations now in 3 cities. The 4th city is coming up soon. Jadi sekarang kita ada di Jakarta, di Bali, di Surabaya, and Medan coming soon.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. So actually, my first question is, why did you choose to start your own business? And you already answered that. Thank you. Okay, so then I'll just have to ask Gita, why did you choose to start your own business?
Well, I think first of all, I'm pretty bitten by the entrepreneurship bug. Not because I like following my passion. I actually don't really believe in the concept. I think passion is probably like chasing some boyfriend somewhere and then you fall out of love. So it's more about following whatever purpose guides you. My big purpose with this is more about how can I create an impact and create a brand that makes people feel accepted and included, no matter who they are. Like if you want to work out just once every 3 months, good for you. If you want to just try for 5 minutes, good for you. I think the world is hard. You should be celebrated the way you are. And that's actually the basis of this brand. The brand is a lot about inclusivity and diversity. We try to make a very, hospitable place for a lot of people. And really, that's I would say that's the whole thing. And the big challenge is not to create a unicorn, actually. Karena unicorn, like good for you, you made up to $1 billion, you could also crash. So the question is, entrepreneurship is not a 5-year situation. It should be a 50-year journey. Doesn't mean you're a CEO for 50 years. That's also a really bad idea. That's probably like dictatorship. But it does mean, how do you create something that can create that much value? Because if you look at the Google, Basecamp, Salesforce, Starbucks of the world, their purpose is a lot larger than being the hot new thing that became $1 billion in 3 years. So that's where I'm at.
But this is the reason why you start our fitness right back then was right. But how about the previous ones? Did you purpose or back
totally.
then or different?
Totally, for different reasons. So before that, I helped co-found. My partner, obviously, he was the one I really learned from. He's really the driver of the business. It's a alcohol business, actually. And the idea was, how do you offer something for people who are looking for great quality and, create this very like misfit kind of community, actually, for nerds, for hermits. Like, I'm asocial. For the most part, I really am scared of people. This is why this thing is great. Love online. And then for the other one before was actually a e-commerce for plus size, because the way I see it, why is nice clothing only for certain people? That doesn't even make sense. So good value, and it's things for plus size. Yeah, so that's it.
Okay, so every time you start something, there's always that goal or that vision that you want to achieve, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Gita.
So next question. Have you ever felt the gender bias during the journey, and how did you cope with it? Let's start with Vanessa.
Okay, so I know that the answer that you guys probably want to hear is yes. I have experienced it, but unfortunately, I have not really felt a big gender bias in my entrepreneurship journey. I don't know, it's because karena I choose not to recognize it, or I just completely choose to ignore it, and I look the other way. Atau memang the business that I am in is it's more, it's not really male focused, right? It's service industry, hospitality. As a matter of fact, our team now consists of 60% women, so 60%. So, and I think it's also part of how I grew up. I grew up in a family of boys. I have 3 brothers. Most of my good friends are guys, males, all since I was in primary school, and then I'm married to someone who doesn't have sisters as well. So I'm just surrounded by boys all my life. So maybe part of it is because I've dealt with it my life, and it doesn't feel like that, right? However, there's one instance that I did bring it up. It was during fundraising. Fundraising was always and is always a scary thing for founders, whether you are a first-time founder, second, third, right? I don't know. Do you enjoy fundraising? Okay, that's great. And we did go to Korea one time, right? I forgot to mention this. I have 2 co-founders, and both of them are male. So I did ask. I think stereotypically, is there been stereotype that Korean are very chauvinistic, male dominant? And I did ask, I said, is it going to hurt the business if I'm the one who go versus one of my co-founders, right? And I did ask the Korean people that, the Korean investor who already invested in us. And they said that, well, the younger ones now are a bit more open-minded. We do have some older generations who are going to be there, but I think it's good to have both. So I think it's good to know, and it's good to recognize that now the business landscape is a lot more accepting, right? It's a lot more accepting of women being in the driver's seat. At least that's what I experienced. Of course, in some other countries in the world, that's not the case, and maybe Gita has a different story.
All right. Before we move on, tolong yang ada yang nonton mungkin dimatikan ya, di mute ya. Okay, thank you. So Gita, can you share your experience with us?
Sure, I like this question. I think the problem is, in a very quick answer, is extremely so. I've experienced gender bias and also any other type of bias in an extremely large and very glaring way. The only problem is every time I say this, every guy goes, "Oh, but it's not me. I mean, I'm enlightened. Like I love, I mean, I hire women. I'm amazing." So I think the problem is other people get like, it's not me. I'm innocent. So this is the issue. In bias, there's either systemic bias versus individual bias. Systemic bias is usually done over time. And it usually is based on a history of many, many things, like history of oppression, history of a lot of things, right? That is baked into society. And that is something, no matter if you're, Mother Teresa, systems are there. It's systems that allow people to get away with that behavior. Why do I know these things? It's simply because, well, one, this is nothing new. You can Google this everywhere. But also because I'm a student of political science and history. That is literally my degree before going to Wharton for business school. Now, in terms of personal experience, I see it a lot in fundraising. Not necessarily, I would say in operations, yeah, but fundraising, yes. In fact, I was very interested in knowing, is this actually a pattern? So I decided since 4 years ago to start taking notes in literally every single fundraising I've ever done. And I have a list on Excel of about 200 investors and what their feedback was about the business and what I did after I heard their feedback. The biggest problem with venture capital is you're always working with companies with not a lot of data, right? Like ideation stage or very early stage. And this kind of very slippery place where a lot of it is based on your gut feeling, which is nothing wrong with that, because what else are you going to do? That is where the bias sets in. Because you can technically, in a venture capital world where you're not dealing with publicly listed companies with a ton of historical data, you could argue almost every which way. You could argue market size is not big enough. You could argue too many competitors. You can argue almost everything. But there is one thing that brings a lot of comfort when you invest. I do some angel investing here and there, which is if the person somehow looks like the circle that you're with, that's where the bias sets in. I can give you any data that you would want. The fact that all female founders globally in the world combined have raised less than only one cigarette company, which is Juul. That's already pretty insane. Then you can go, no, not enough female founders. Like there's so little of you. Actually, there's 11 million in the United States alone for SMEs. Yeah, but they don't apply. It's not our fault, They do. There's in fact a Harvard Business Review article on it, how female founders, about almost 70% of them get asked different questions from an investor, and over time they raise less and less. Despite all that, female founders on average bring in about 2x the ROI of a male founder on average. So I think the issue shouldn't be like, please tell me I'm innocent. I'm great. I love women. I support them. But more about how are you complicit actually in the systemic part? And I think a lot of it will go down to money. Period. Money will talk. Because as much as you'd like to have an analyst and associate who's female, it's not until the female with the whole cash putting in money into more female founders, you really start seeing a much more robust, diverse ecosystem. So have I experienced it many times? My Excel sheet, which I will never show to anyone, can also tell you. I've gotten we invest into great founders. You're the best founder we've ever seen. But, the health and wellness is too small. It's a $2 trillion globally. Yeah, we know, but I just don't see it. That happens, and it's okay. I can't prove it otherwise, right? It's a very data deficient type of ecosystem, which makes it actually, if you have the returns, very, very compelling. But that's why anything that requires your gut, you really need to start challenging that, because that's where bias comes in.
All right, that's very interesting. Like the systemic and what's the other one?
Individual. So
Okay.
systemic versus individual.
Yeah.
Can I add to that as well?
Yeah,
I think
sure,
it's interesting what Gita mentioned as well, because when investors or I guess people who look at a company that are successful run by male founders versus a company that run by female founders, it's really not. I mean, it's very difficult to really to judge by the gender, right? Because we could never have the exact same condition, same company, same everything run by female and run by male. I mean, everything is there's a lot of variables that are involved. So again, comparing it by gender, whether there are more female founders or male founders that are successful, it's very tough, especially since there are obviously a lot more male founders than female founders. So just from the from the amount of data, we are also somewhat geared toward one gender over the other.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Do you think being a female founder, you feel that there are some benefits? I don't know, maybe like from being able to multitask or whatever.